Hello, everyone, and welcome to our information session, followed by student panel for our Master of Business Administration here at Illinois State University. My name is Whitney Miller, and I work in our International Student Office here at Illinois State, and helped set this up. But without further ado, let's get this started. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Knoll, who will be giving most of this presentation to you and we can get started.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this information session on the Master of Business Administration degree at Illinois State University. I'm Dr. Terry Knoll, and I am the Associate Dean for Academic Programs and Curriculum here in the College of Business and run the MBA program along with the able assistance of Chris Knuth, who is also with us in the background tonight. So our goal tonight is to give you the information that you need to make a good decision about getting an MBA degree. We'll talk about getting an MBA degree in general a little bit, but also some considerations in picking a specific MBA program, namely ours, hopefully, but we want to talk to you a little bit about why it's so important to get an MBA, irrespective of whether it's at ISU or not. So let's get started. So tonight we're going to cover a little bit about the program itself, the curriculum and content. We're going to talk to you about how you apply and what the degree length is, how long it might take you to finish the degree. We have funding opportunities. That's always first and foremost on people's mind. How am I going to swing this financially? And then tonight, we're pleased to have with us two students who are going to talk to you from our student panel. It's Katie Callahan and Mac Usray, and they'll tell you the truth about what the MBA program is actually like and some of the things that they've experienced or are experiencing. We'll leave time at the end for some questions and answers as well. We'll tell you how we're going to handle that through the chat and or audio and video a little bit nearer the end. So a few fast facts here. We have currently 134 students enrolled. We had a few of those who just graduated. 25 of those 134 just graduated this month. We have 42% international students, with students from 12 different countries. That's a big bonus for the program, not only for international students, but also for our domestic students who get a really good exposure to working with people from different countries and different cultures within those countries. So we are more than just a Central Illinois MBA program or an international program. We keep our class sizes manageable. We have an average class size of about 25 students. So it's large enough to have good interaction, good energy, and good discussions, but also small enough that the professors can give you the kind of attention that you deserve in an ongoing MBA program. So we are ranked as number 140 in the best time part-time MBA programs in the U.S. and U.S. News and World Report. That is no mean feat when you think about how many MBA programs there are everywhere, and we're proud to be ranked in that position. We have two different types of programs. They're the same program in terms of the degree and the content of all the courses, but we have two different delivery options if you're here in the US, and that's the traditional and the corporate. We're going to talk a little bit more about those, but those two options give you a chance, depending on your work, family, and life situation, which one might work better for you. One thing I want to really emphasize is anybody can claim to have a great MBA program. The problem is, how do you verify that? Well, nobody's going to say, oh, we have a really mediocre MBA program, or we have a rotten program, but we hope you come anyway. everybody's going to claim to have a good one. And a good way to tell that is whether that program is accredited. Now, the gold standard of accreditation for our particular field of business is done by the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business. And this has been around for about 100 years. It is an organization that accredits schools of business. And if you want to be a noted school of business, you're going to get AACSB accreditation or attempt to. Now, we're coming up for our 5-year review this October. And I want to tell you that it takes 2 solid years of work for us just to get ready to do this accreditation review. We have to look at everything. There is another associate dean, my counterpart, Dr. Tamara Connor, who works almost full time on just the AACSB accreditation process. Now, the thing that makes Illinois State so unusual is we are less than among the fewer than 2% of AACSB accredited schools who are accredited in both the business program in general and the accounting program. That is rarefied air. It is highly unusual for a school to have both designations, and we're very proud to be among those few that do. The traditional MBA program is the way you usually think about an MBA program. You can get admitted fall, spring, or summer semester, which basically means you can start the program anytime that suits you. And the classes are available for full-time or part-time study. So if you're an international student, the rules are a little bit different. So we would need to talk to you about the number of courses you need to take at one time to be studying in the US. But aside from that, it gives you some flexibility. So you can kind of go right through the program as rapidly as time permits, or you can spread it out. So some people take more than the minimum 18 or 21 months to get finished in the program. And that's because that pace just suits them a little bit better. So that's what the traditional MBA program is all about. Our classes are taught in a blended format on weeknights. So you can still work full-time and attend the program. Let me tell you a little bit about why we use a blended format. A blended format in this context means that 50% of your contact time, which is 3 hours per week, with your professor is done in person in the classroom. The other 50% is done asynchronously online. So what we did when we shifted to this blended format a year and a half ago was we wanted to retain what is best about our program. The whole world is rushing to fully online MBA programs, and those are wonderful, and there are many wonderful programs out there that you can consider that is fully online. But there are some people that just do better with personal contact, and our alumni tell us consistently that what they value most about this program is the ongoing contact they had with their professors. And we have professors who have sustained relationships with their MBA students for years. I still have social media contact with people who were in my MBA classes, 12 or 15 years ago. And that's a wonderful feeling. And it's hard to get that without at least some in-person contact. But on the other hand, we recognize that everybody they have work, they have family life, and heaven knows you need to sleep a little bit too. So we designed the blended program to get the best of both worlds. So we want to give you a little bit of flexibility. And so you'll be in class 90 minutes a week in person, but the other 90 minutes is going to be online asynchronously, so you can kind of do it on your own time. The tuition costs are about $1,200, just a smidgen over $1,200 per course if you're in state. If you're out of state, it's about 2,500, just a little bit over that per course. Some people prefer a weekend format. You may have heard of this style of MBA course, and this is done in a cohort style. Some people would call that a lockstep program. And it means that all of you come in together. So those of you out there who joined the program, if you went into the MBA, the corporate MBA route, CMBA program, then you would start at the same time. You would go through all your courses. You're going to be sick of these people by the time you get through this program, because you'll be working with the same set of people through the whole thing. So it's very much set up so that there's no question about when you take what courses. The elective courses, you have 9 core courses and 3 electives, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in tonight's presentation. But the gist of it is that you will have the same blended format, except it'll just be on weekends. Now, the difference is it used to be you'd come in on Friday night for 4 hours, Saturday for 8 hours. Now we have it set up so that you will only be in an in-person class from 10 until 5 on Saturdays. And tuition for this is about $18.75 per course. So if your schedule and your life lends itself to this arrangement, then this is probably the choice for you over a traditional program. Now, I should give one proviso here. During the pandemic, you can just substitute synchronous classroom for in-person classroom when we're talking about during the pandemic. Now, we have been pretty much cleared to go all in-person in the fall. So those of you starting in the fall will be, unless something radical changes that we can't predict, you'll be in regular in-person classes again. So everything I just described to you about the blended format will apply. And boy, we're glad. So what are the benefits of an MBA? First, let me emphasize, if you're joining us tonight, you're thinking about getting an MBA. And I want to applaud you for that. Get that MBA. Whether you get it here at Illinois State or not, we obviously would love to have you here, and we think we have a great program. But get the MBA, because it just helps you move to that next level in your career. Sometimes we get people that say, well, you know, I feel like I'm kind of getting this effect. I feel like I'd like to move up in the organization. I'd like to do more challenging and interesting things and have more responsibility and authority. I know I'm more capable than my position reflects. Well, you have to think about it from the employer's point of view. Sometimes it's hard to tell who is really executive material. And an MBA is a universally recognized kind of a proxy for a body of knowledge that someone possesses that makes them executive material. So getting an MBA helps you develop those managerial and technical skills that you need to move up in the organization, or to make yourself more employable somewhere else. So some people are in a company, they like it, but they just want to move up. An MBA can help you do that. Some people think, you know, I've outgrown this company, or I'm tired of this company. I think I have potential to do something else. Well, an MBA can help you when you go on the job market. It really helps you broaden your thinking and broaden your skill set so that you're going to be able to have more choices in your career. Networking is extraordinarily powerful. And networking, you'll be getting to know not only people that you study with, but your professors. You'll be getting to know people who are associated with the program, like alumni that come back and maybe they're guest speakers in the class, or they just come back to converse with MBA students. that is just gold. I mean, the kinds of networks that you start building in your MBA program is going to pay off in spades through the rest of your career. I think that one of the most important reasons to get an MBA is personal growth. Sometimes I think we trap ourselves into thinking life would be so wonderful without all these problems I face every day. Problem people, problem situations, lack of resources, confusion, ambiguity, and all of those things. And we think, oh, just that would all go away. Life would be perfect. But in reality, I think if we really stop and think about it, that's not the kind of life that's really rewarding. And the kind of life we really want is to be challenged appropriately to our interests and our abilities. And so getting an MBA puts you in a situation where you can face bigger and more interesting challenges. And let me tell you, I would trade anything in terms of my career, the way it shaped up, uh, for those periods where I've been feeling like I'm spinning my wheels. It's like I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Whether it was full of stress or not, just the feeling that you're really not making any meaningful progress is devastating. On the other hand, some of the happiest periods in my career have been those in which I've been able to be faced with challenges that are really difficult, but really interesting and meaningful to work through. So the personal growth aspect of an MBA is something, and we had a student that has just finished up. I won't name the student, obviously, but it's someone I happen to have known from before the program. I've known for several years. Well, this student went through the program, and it was so rewarding to hear this person talk about the progress and the transformation she made from feeling like, am I really capable of doing an MBA program? Is this something that's right for me? And she actually came and talked to me about this before she decided to apply. She slugged it out. She went through lots of times of stress and lots of times of challenge. And toward the end, I mean, it was really difficult. And she was sharing that this is really a bigger challenge than even I thought. But she stayed with it and she finished. And the sense of pride that she had from doing that and from really facing those obstacles and overcoming them, that's what it's all about. And to watch her personal growth from before and to the point at which she is now is absolutely miraculous. And I hope all of you get to experience something as wonderful as that. Also, most of us, I think we don't have enough money, right? Almost nobody sits there and says, "Nope, no more. No, I got plenty. Please don't give me any more money. Yeah, I'm fine." Most of us think, well, I could probably increase our earning power for good reason. That's not greed. It's not something shallow like that. We want a better life for ourselves. We want a better life for our family. And in other cases, we want to contribute to the world. And having a higher income is essential to that kind of thing. So our MBA program, as you'll see in just a minute, can put you in a position of some substantially increased earnings. To wit, $100,000 is a typical student earnings after completing an MBA in the US. That may have edged up a little bit higher now. That data there is about 3 years old. That's a substantial amount for people to get into the six-figure threshold. That is a big step, and the world looks a lot different from that perspective. So if those are your aspirations, an MBA can help you get there. The connections you make are going to help you, not just in a material sense, but kind of in a, I guess spiritual, maybe a little strong a word, but kind of a sense of connection with people. It's more than just the business deals you're making. It's the sense of a common purpose and helping each other out, and the synergy you get with other people when you have them in your network and work with them. 300%. That is the difference. You can have up to 300% difference between the average 10-year earnings of someone with or without an MBA. Think about that a minute. Up to triple the amount of earnings over 10 years. And let me tell you, from experience, 10 years goes just like that. You think, well, yeah, well, that's over a decade. Let me tell you, a decade is going to pass quicker than the blink of an eye. So if you think that over the course of 10 years, you'd like to triple your income, this would be a good place to start getting that MBA. We really think through our curriculum. We don't just throw together a hodgepodge of courses and say, oh, this is all about business. Get what you can from it and go get them, Tiger. We have a process that we put our students through that results in I know this sounds silly, but it's kind of like taking a caterpillar and helping it transform into a beautiful butterfly. And what I mean by that is it's not just this bucket of knowledge that you have as you earn an MBA, and the bucket is full when you get done. And you take this bucket and you show everybody, see this bucket of knowledge I got in the MBA program? It's you that changes. And the reason you change in our MBA program is we design it so that we take you through a process that develops you from thinking as someone who works to someone who leads. We want you to start thinking about the world of business from an executive perspective rather than the perspective of someone who really does more what somebody else directs them to do tangibly and thinks more about what needs to be done. The world needs more creative thinkers and savvy problem solvers. The world of business is fascinating. I mean, I really am, frankly, I'm envious of all of you who are looking forward to the next few decades, because the changes that were brought about as we started to move into the internet age, and that was only, if you'll recall, about 25 years ago, that we really had an internet, or at least the internet as we know it today. And all the technology that has accompanied that and all the social changes and so forth, the next few decades is going to be absolutely fascinating. And you have an opportunity to be a big part of that. Getting an MBA is going to help you play a big part of that in whatever organization that you work for. So let's talk a little bit about the curriculum. We have 9 courses that are in the core. That means everybody takes those courses. And then we have 9 credit hours, which would be 3 courses of electives. So let's talk first about the 9 core courses. The first 3 are what we think of as a kind of a critical thinking block. What we want to do is get you to looking at the world of business in a strategic way. So everybody makes decisions. I mean, from the first thing in the morning we get up till we go to bed, we're making decisions. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I drink a cup of coffee now? Should I have a cup of coffee later? Should I exercise this time of day? Should I exercise that time of day? Where should I eat lunch and all of that? And those are your regular kind of trivial type of everyday decisions that we make. And then there are the bigger types of decisions. What should I do? What should I do with my life? What should I do at work? What kinds of relationships do I have or do I want to work toward? And we make all of those decisions, but very often we don't think about how we make those decisions. In an MBA program and in business, it's very important that we understand how to go about the decision-making process. So, for example, how do you tell good information from bad information? This may come as a shock, but I found some things on the internet recently that were factually untrue. And, how does that happen? Isn't that all? How do you discern what's fake news and what's real news? How do you discern what's a good fact that probably is pretty credible and something that somebody sat somewhere in front of a keyboard and just put out there with no reference to reality whatsoever. So the first step in thinking critically is, can you get your facts straight? Do you know what's the difference between good data and bad data? Can you take those and shape them into a perspective? So we talk a lot about how you take that information now and shape it into leadership skills, how you influence other people and persuade other people to help you or help your organization realize a vision. We talk about applied tools, statistical tools. I mean, if you're around business and you hadn't heard the phrase data analytics, you hadn't been listening the last few years, we have so much data that was not even available, say, 5 or 10 years ago. The kind of data we would have killed for years ago before the advent of the internet that help us do business better. Well, now we have an embarrassment of riches. We have so much data, it's difficult to make sense of it. So we talked to you about how to shape that up, how you take these millions of points of information and shape them into something that can frame and inform your decision making. Then we move into kind of the functional areas of business. Those include the managerial parts of business. So how do people function in an organization? What does leadership really mean? What is it that gets people together to look toward the same direction and set the same types of goals? What does conflict and disagreement mean in an organization, and how do you work with that? You're not going to eliminate it, and it wouldn't be good if you could. So will you learn that some conflict is good? It's just that certain kinds of conflict get out of hand. So how do you manage that? We have things like operations management. You know, how do you organize projects and so forth to use resources to maximum effectiveness? We talk about marketing, and mostly marketing these days. I mean, we're all inundated with it all day long. How do you cut through that kind of noise to get your organization's message out? Well, we talk about how to do that. We talk about finance and accounting. How does the money work? How do you get resources pulled together to use that effectively in an organizational context? And then for our core course, we wrap it up and we put a big red bow on it with advanced organizational strategy. And this is looking at the organization from a bird's eye view. How does the top management team see the rest of the world? How do you operate an entire company in its competitive space? So if we take this route in the marketplace, what kind of response is a competitor likely to make? And how would we respond in terms of that? So it's looking from the point of view of how an organization as a whole works in a market space or in a competitive space, as opposed to just one unit within that organization. Now, the electives work differently whether you're in a traditional program or a CMBA program, the corporate version. In a traditional MBA program, you take those 9 core courses along the way, and you choose any elective that we offer at a particular time. So we don't care which 3 electives you take, you just take them according to your own interest. In the CMBA program, it's a little different because obviously if you're in lockstep and going through together, you can't have individual people taking all different courses. So at some point during the cohort, we give you a chance as a group to choose or to vote for which electives that you want. We set those 3 electives, and everybody in that cohort takes the same set of electives. We have some concentrations, so they include but are not limited to business analytics. That's a hot one and will be for the next several years, learning how to handle analytics in an organization. You have financial management, we have concentration in marketing management, and also in organizational leadership. We have certificates in audit and control and accounting, business analytics, data science, forensic accounting, and organizational leadership. So those are certificates that you can focus on during your degree. Deadlines. So let's talk about that. So you can apply now for summer or fall 2021. And I would encourage you, if you're thinking about applying, go ahead and get that done. It's easy to put things off. It's easy to miss deadlines and so forth. So if you're thinking about this, I would really encourage you to pull the trigger, get an MBA degree. You will never regret it. I have never, I mean, never has anyone ever come back to me and said, gosh, I'm really sorry I got the MBA degree. Nobody does that. Everybody, no matter how hard the challenge, comes back and says, I'm really glad I did this. This helped me advance my career and it made my life a lot better. So what do we look at for application requirements? Well, you have the usual, you have an admission and application and a fee. Official transcripts from all institutions. This is another reason to get started on your application, because we're going to require transcripts from wherever else you've attended in any of your education. So the earlier you get that process started, the faster your other institutions will get that information to us. Ask you to write a personal statement. You know, what is it that made you think about getting an MBA, and what do you want to get out of it? What is it? What is the MBA about for you? That personal statement helps helps us see, well, whether you're a serious applicant or not. We're not looking for anything in particular, but we're looking for a sense in that personal statement of, I've thought this through and I really think this would be a good move for me, and here's why. You'll need to give us a copy of your current resume. Obviously, you'll have email and contact information for 2 references, and your official GMAT or GRE score. Now, let's talk about this. Some folks say, that MBA, I'm going to apply for that MBA. I've got all the stuff written. I've got my resume. I've got my personal statements, and I know who I'm going to contact for references. And then I've got to, whoa, I've got to take an exam. Now, that is the norm in graduate schools. And sometimes some of us think about that and just want to crawl under the kitchen table. The GMAT that we normally rely on, although you can use the graduate record exam as well, we have a conversion table we use, is for a specific purpose, and that is to help us discern who has a good chance of succeeding in the program. It's for you as the applicant. So the GMAT has been recognized for some time as a way to kind of see whether you're ready for graduate level work. But, and this is very, very important, it is not the only way, and we're coming to wonder if it's actually the best way to determine your chances of success in the program. So we have an ability for you to earn a GMAT waiver. That means you don't have to take the GMAT exam. Well, how do you do that? Well, the first thing, you got to apply for the GMAT waiver. And it's a simple process, and Ms. Knuth can help you with that, getting that in. What do we look at? Well, when we look at the GMAT waiver request, we're asking ourselves the question, is there evidence in your history that would suggest to us that you're a capable student? So we use a holistic admissions process. So we look at, if we don't have, if we have the GMAT requirement, that is just one among many things. We also look at your work history, your undergraduate work and GPA. We look at whether you have another master's degree, in which case, you know, well, you know what getting a master's is all about. You'll probably be successful in an MBA program. And so if you apply for a GMAT waiver, and we can convince ourselves that you're a good bet on succeeding even without the GMAT scores, then we admit you without the GMAT exam. So I would encourage you, if you're up to the point where, yes, I'm going to apply, but ooh, I hate the idea of taking that standardized test, apply for the GMAT waiver, and hopefully, depending on your work history and your previous performance in school, you might have a chance of getting that waived. So do not, repeat, do not let the GMAT requirement stop you from applying to the MBA. We do a holistic um, admission, as I indicated. We look at the whole person. We try to get an idea of where you're strong, where you're not so strong. Nobody, by the way, is strong everywhere. That we don't get applications where we perfect applicant has never showed up, as long as we've been doing this. So people are better at different things. Some people are very good at standardized tests. So we look at that, but maybe they didn't do so well on their undergraduate work and their GPA is lower. Sometimes people are the opposite. Standardized tests are just not their thing, but boy, they worked hard in school and their GPA is really good. And we look at that. We also look at work history, and this is something that if you've been a while out of school, is something to think about. If you show increasing responsibilities in your resume and increasing positions of authority, that's a very, very good sign to us that you kind of get it. You know what this is all about because you've taken it upon yourself to learn what you needed to learn to get higher and higher positions within your organization. That's a big one for us. So once again, if you think you're strong in some areas but weak in some others, get that application in. There's still a very good chance that you could be considered for admission. Now, you may come from a different area. Some of you may be sitting there thinking, oh, well, I come from the arts or from the sciences, or my background is in whatever. Not a problem. In fact, frankly, sometimes students who are coming to us from a non-business background bring more to the party because you know something about the world aside from just business. The problem is in an MBA program, if you come from that kind of a background, you may not be familiar with the basic concepts and jargon that business people use. Not a problem. We've got that one figured out. We have a set of 8 modules. They're all online. They take about 15 to 25 hours each to help you get up to speed in particular areas. And some examples are US business law, financial accounting, principles of marketing, and so forth. So this is very important. If you're not from a business background, don't let that slow you down. And we will help you figure out which of these modules, if any, that you need in order to get started. This is something, again, I would encourage you to get started early on. What you don't want to do is know that you need these modules as you get into the program and realize I can't take this next class because I didn't do my modules yet. And that will, that's anybody from any background. I would encourage you, if you're thinking about the MBA, go ahead and apply. Now I'm going to turn this back over to Whitney, who's going to tell you a little bit about some international requirements.
Thank you. So if you are an international student or if you're working with international students, there are going to be a few more requirements that we would want to see from you to make sure that you're eligible to study here at our MBA program. So similar to all the requirements that were stated before, you'll still need to give us your transcripts from all of your educational institutions. But the main difference that we are going to see is that language requirement. In addition to all of the other entry requirements, that language requirement, we do accept TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo for admission. So you'll want your transcripts, and your language score as well. But what you'll notice here is that there's going to be two different ways that you can enter as an international student. You can go direct entry, which is similar to how an American student would enter, just directly jumping into the program. Or, on the other hand, we have our graduate pathway programs. These programs specifically are going to be conditional admissions, is a way to think of these. So you'll notice they have slightly lower GPA or grade requirements from your past degrees. They have slightly lower language requirements. You'll notice that the GMAT is not required for most of these. And the reason for that, of course, is it might be very difficult for you where you are located to take that GMAT. So, depending on your specific spice, I will call it, or your mixture, where your language score is, where your grades are, do you have a GMAT or not? We will put you in the path that will support you the best. With a graduate pathway program, because you don't have maybe the necessary scores to get you direct entry, what we do is we provide our international students who go through this program with cultural support, academic support, and just general support to make sure that you succeed in your MBA program. So that could last one semester, it could last 2 semesters. And then you are taking courses towards your MBA during these programs as well. Whether you're taking those non-background modules that you just heard about, or maybe you are taking actual MBA courses during this. What that will then look like for you is you will see the duration might change. Direct entry for international students, keeping in mind that as an international student, you must maintain a full course load to keep your visa status. So while a domestic student might be able to stretch their degree out a little bit longer, as an international student, you're going to be taking a full course load, which means that you can complete your degree if you're direct entry or even in our one semester with business background in a year and a half to 2 years. The maximum length is if you have a lower language level, and if you have no business background, that can take up to 3 years. But it really depends on you and what the best route is for you to succeed. If you are a international student, there is a possibility that you will not be able to participate in the corporate MBA. This is because it is not considered a full-time program because it's just going to be over those weekend days. So if you are living here in the United States on a work visa, you could theoretically come into that corporate MBA program. But if you are going to be on a student visa, you will just be in that traditional program. But if you're interested in this corporate program as a domestic student or an international student who's here on a work visa, for example, that corporate program will take about 22 months to complete. And so with that, if you have questions about other international things, please feel free to put those in the Q&A and I will help to answer those during our question and answer session at the end, or I will type directly to you. But I'm going to hand it back to Dr. Knoll to talk a little bit about funding opportunities before we hop into our student panel and question and answer session.
Thank you, Whitney. So funding opportunities. So now you're all fired up. I'm ready to apply. And then you realize, this is not free, is it? So we're going to work with you to hopefully help you see the value of the investment, first of all. And it is an investment. It will pay off over the long run. We have federal financial aid. It's available for domestic degree-seeking students. All students may be eligible for private loans and scholarships. This is another way that can help you finance that. University monthly payment plans. We have tuition that's billed per credit and per semester, so you kind of spread things out instead of having to pony up for the whole thing at one time. And we have admissions scholarship for pathway students as well. We have graduate assistantships, which you work for the College of Business, usually in a research assistant type capacity with a faculty member. Although we have some that don't quite fall in that category. They're all basically the same thing. Those come with 100% tuition waiver during the semester of your appointment as a graduate assistant. And the monthly wages are paid either in the form of a stipend or an hourly wage. And they're available day one for direct entry students or upon completion of the pathway if you're in that program. And you do have to apply for these positions. So be aware of that you're actually going to need to put in an application. So Katie and Mac, if you'll join us now. Hi, Katie, how you doing? I think you're still muted. There you go. Mac, how you doing?
Hello.
So if you don't mind, first of all, if you have questions, I guess Whitney is the best way to have them put those in on chat, or should we have it where they can just show up on video and speak their questions?
I would say if you have any questions for myself, Dr. Knoll, or our student panelists, you can go ahead and put those in the Q&A that's found in your panel. Just click on Q&A and you can type in any questions you have there. Or if you would like to speak, you can raise your hand and we can allow you to speak as well.
All right, so while we're waiting for some questions to come in, Katie and Mac, I'm going to ask you to share a couple of thoughts with us, if you don't mind. First of all, if you, what would be for each of you the most unusual thing you learned so far in your MBA program? Something that you just like, I did not expect this, but when I learned it, it was like, oh, wow, I didn't know that.
I would say in my first semester, I took the MBA 411, which was like economics. And there was a lot of math that I had never seen because I didn't have a business background. And I remember seeing all like the formulas and getting really intimidated. But after a while, speaking with the professor and getting help from other students, it clicked. But some of those formulas are just you're so long and crazy.
Mac, how about you?
For me, it was the finance class I just took. Instead of just learning how to do financial statements, we actually learned how to take that information and apply it to business decisions. And that was something I had never learned in undergrad. So it was kind of a wow moment for me, connecting all the dots in my head.
Yeah, good. So what is the one thing that you would tell anybody who's thinking about applying for the MBA program? What would you tell them?
I would say no matter what your background is, whether or not you have a business background, you're completely capable of doing it. For me, like I said, I did not have a business background. I also do work full time, and I also have 2 kids who are pretty young. So I was a little bit worried that I wouldn't be able to juggle all of it at once while taking an MBA. But I really appreciate ISU's flexibility. The teachers, all the professors I've had have been really great, flexible, understanding, willing to answer questions. So I would just say, don't doubt yourself. Even if you have a lot on your plate, you can do it.
I would say you get out of it what you put into it. So participating in class discussion, getting to know your peers, and getting to know your professors as well, which was a little bit harder during COVID, but I actually made some friends asking people if they wanted to Zoom study together. So just putting yourself out there and a little bit of networking, it's worth it. And you meet some really interesting people.
So did either of you learn anything that will help you in the future that you wouldn't really call like class content or something that you can apply in your business organization, but something that you learned that was broader than that, that spoke to more of you as a whole person?
For me, it was critical thinking, thinking deeper on the ideas and not just memorizing answers, but applying it to real life situations and scenarios and thinking more about cause and effect.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, one of my classes that I had, the professor really emphasized how important active listening is, whether it's in a personal situation or a business situation. And I kind of knew about that, but the way that the professor went into it, it really made me understand like how important it is to listen, and also how there is value in conflict. You don't need to avoid conflict. And it really helped me apply it to my personal life and my business life as well.
Good. So everybody comes out of business MBA program, out of the MBA program with a story. At something that happened, some incident that was really meaningful for whatever reason. So would each of you mind sharing what's the short, brief story about something that happened that's really going to become a story you tell people in the coming years about getting an MBA?
Well, I will start with saying that in high school, I did struggle academically for a couple of years, my freshman year especially. And I remember sitting with my academic advisor at the time, the college advisor, and she told me in no uncertain terms, like, the way you're going, you're not going to get anywhere. And I knew she was right, but I just had to put more effort in it. And ever since that moment, I have always tried my best. And for me, like a lot of people didn't expect, especially back then, that I would ever even go to college or get it, let alone get an MBA degree. So for me, it's that personal drive that I can succeed no matter what kind of hardships I had in the past.
Great. Mac?
For me, getting an MBA is about the opportunities that I hope come with it. So I went to college because that's just what you do, but I'm getting my MBA because it's something I want to do, and it's something I hope helps me succeed in the future. And as a woman in business, I'm just hoping it helps a little bit break through that ceiling and really help push me forward so eventually I can mentor young women like myself who are trying to make these life decisions.
Oh, that's great. So we have a question from Stephanie, and Stephanie asks, what's your future plans after graduation, and how will getting an MBA support those plans?
So for me, I'm currently doing an internship and I'm hoping to get a job offer after it. So I'd like to start working. And I'm hoping my MBA, like I said, opens the door for opportunities, specifically for leadership positions as I grow throughout my career. And I know right away it won't do much since I'll be entry level, but I'm hoping later on it helps me stand out and be a little bit more competitive when applying for those leadership positions. Leadership's ultimately what I'm interested in, which is why I pursued my MBA.
Yeah, I agree with Mac. I also am interested in leadership, and I was fortunate enough to get accepted into the organizational leadership certificate program last year, and I know that it'll help me. And like Mac said, that is where I want to be, and I think that getting the MBA, but also being able to have specific study towards that organizational leadership and management is really going to take away a lot for me and help me.
Good. So we have about 3 minutes left. Does anybody else out there? And by the way, Stephanie, thank you so much for that question. I hope that helped. So is there anybody else out there that has a question they'd like to ask Katie or Mac? Or any of the rest of us for that matter?
If no one else has questions, I will ask one.
Okay.
When you were deciding to get an MBA, what made you choose Illinois State University?
Definitely the history of the program. It is very strong. And also I grew up here pretty much. So I was always familiar with ISU. I know a lot of alumni and I've always heard it's a great school. So for me, it was really an advantage that it's so close to home, but it's also a really great program and accredited and everything. So
Yeah, I would say similar for me, as Katie said. I also chose the program because of their organizational leadership certificate. I felt that was unique and it really specific to something I wanted to pursue, like Katie mentioned earlier. So that was a main driver for me, that certificate.
So I think Stephanie was asking something. I think, Stephanie, this may have answered your question, is why 3 reasons why you picked the MBA program here. So hopefully, Stephanie, that kind of gave you some insight into what Katie and Mac were thinking. Is there anybody else? Whitney, did you have any other questions or?
I guess we have 1 minute left, so a really quick one for me. One piece of advice that you would give to a student who's looking to get an MBA.
I would say don't give up. You may face classes that are difficult for you, but you're going to have a lot of support with your classmates. I've always had really helpful classmates that come from a variety of different backgrounds that can offer those perspectives. And you will get it done eventually. Just got to put the work in, but you can do it.
I know I'm preaching to the choir, but start researching colleges early. Don't wait till the last minute. And then, like I said before, you get out what you put into it. So participating in class discussion, getting to know your peers, and taking advantage of Career Service Center. It's all extremely helpful. ISU sets you up to succeed. You just need to take advantage of the opportunities.
Katie and Mac, thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate you being willing to share your thoughts, and all of you out there, I hope that helped and helps inform your decision.
That is all from us, everyone. If you or one of your friends or colleagues is interested, we have one more upcoming session that is on June 10th. So please feel free to join us using the link that you see here. You can register for that event as well, or just pop back in and say hi and ask any other questions that you have as well. We hope to see you here at Illinois State University in the future, and we hope that you have a great day, evening, wherever you are in the world.